Okay, I'm gonna wing it here. See what happens. Let me do a screen share thing. No, doesn't look like it's working too well already. Doesn't look like it's working. Entire screen. Oh, that's your audio. Share audio. There goes nothing. Anyway. Okay. Go ahead and go like this. Fill it out. And I will go to my other screen here. I don't need audio. I'm just doing that for fun of it. Oops, wrong one. Okay. This thing is working. This is the chart where I found the Jewish people in Americas. Okay, we have to understand what this is. We have the Africa is this orange color. Middle East is this brown color. The Americas are the dark brown color. Asia or China is the dark blue, and the other parts are the other shades of blue. And we have the grays of Europe and Northern Asia. Okay, so we have the color codes down here. These are the Africans here. You have the A, B, and the E. Oops, what happened to the D? There's a D. But notice this timeline here. These A's and B's. Of course, they stretched out this timeline to make it turn out to be 180,000 years. But if they would scrunch that down to 10,000 years, it would make a lot more sense. But anyways, this DO here, DO to differentiate from D1 because it's really the same thing. D's is actually one of these, see, because these existed way back in time, you can see. But this DO was only a short time in Africa. So that means these D's from over here went over here into Africa at a later date, mind you. And where's the C? Where's the CY chromosome? It's supposed to be A, B, C, and D, and E, right? Where's the C? C never went to Africa, right here. All this light blue here, it's all Asia. It's all Asia and the Pacific Islands. So down here, we can see, we can verify what's in Africa. Of course, these are supposed to be indigenous populations. And so yeah, these D's, this is like in China. These D's are actually Tibet, Japan. These D's, DY chromosome, Tibet, Japan, and the Andamanese Islands, which includes this little blue thing here, probably. because they're represented in the Andamanese Islands. Well, maybe that's the D1 here. This D1 might be the Andamanese Islands. Let me see what we got here. Which is, yeah, it's right here. That where the arrow is, if you can see that, that's the Andamanese Islands. Look like pretty big islands, too. But anyways, that's the DY chromosome right there. So it's the middle shade of blue. So we have the middle shade of blue, the Andamanese Islands, South Asia. We have the other Ds, which are Tibet, Japan, in East Asia, and at the real South Asia, and then the North Asia, and Central and West Asia, and Oceania. So South Asia and Oceania are basically the same thing, I guess. Oceania would be the Micronesians, Melanesians, and Polynesians. They all have the CY chromosome. CY chromosome is also in East Asia, which is up here, and in up north. So you're going to see a big gray. But a CY chromosome actually doesn't really show here. Unless it's this right here. Yeah, it does show. We have a C2 with a gray. And yeah, right there. So that'd be the Mongolians are largely CY chromosome. Of course, the CY chromosome that never went to Africa would be probably Nimrod from very early on, because he was the hunter in the land of Mesopotamia, the land of Shinar. He was the king in the land of Shinar. He had been established. He was the great hunter established in Mesopotamian region. His descendants, none of his descendants ever went to Africa. They all went east instead of west. So they're all throughout Asia, Oceania, and Northern Asia, which is this gray right here, which is a big number right here. It's a pretty big number right there. Okay. So that settles that. Of course, this all disproves the out of Africa theory, by the way, in case people don't know. Let me just double check, see what's going on. Oh, yeah, it's showing the screen. Okay. I guess it is anyway. So, excellent. So now we get into the Americas. What are the Americas? The Americas color is brown, right? Just a regular brown color. So that would be this color here. We have the Q, which is expected, the Q1. You have the R1B, which is kind of unexpected, but it's there. So the Q and the R are basically the same thing. See, Q, R, they're the same line, except the Q's are in the east and the R's are in the west. So what happened, this R over here from the west went to the Americas from the west, and this Q over here went to the Americas from the east. And the greater population in America is Q. Of course, this is the Y chromosome. So this is to be expected, right? The R came from the west, the Q came from the east to the west. In other words, the Q went east all the way to the western of the United States, and the R went west all the way to the eastern United States, actually. Whatever. Anyway, so that's to be expected right there. That's America, right? So over here we have the T, and suddenly there's a large representation of T in America. Okay, so how does that happen? Turns out that T is a Y chromosome that is associated with the Jewish people. I've shown before how a pie chart that the Jewish people always have or tend to have a TY chromosome in there, which is not a Semitic population, but it's early on there's a TY chromosome that joined up with the Jewish people, and that's found in America. And what's this? Oh, look at this. We have J1, which is associated with descendants of Abraham, J2, which is associated almost exclusively pretty much of the Jewish people or more with the Jewish people, I believe. And what's this? Oh, we have the I2, which is also associated with the J. That, of course, the J and the I. See, the I and the J belong to the same tree. So they're there too. So we got the I2 and the I1. See this little sliver of brown? I don't know if you can see it from the screen, but there's a little sliver of brown here, and it's I1. This is my Y chromosome. It's the Y chromosome that I personally have, which is associated with the Jewish people, which is in the Americas, along with the I2, the J1, and the J2, and the T. In America. It's found in these parts of America. Also, where they said to have found Hebrew writing. And matter of fact, I think throughout Americas, they've said to have found Hebrew writings pretty much. I mean, in different places. So this is DNA evidence. And not only do you have the Semitic population, but this G over here is also in the Americas. This G is Semitic too. G is a Semitic population. It's there along with the I's and the J's and the T's, which are all associated with Jewish people, or they're Jewish people. As a matter of fact, I believe the I and the J are the Jewish Y chromosome. The T is there because it mixed in early on, but doesn't belong to the same branch. It belongs to the K branch. So that would be the Japhethite branch. So it'd be Japhetic. The TY chromosome is a Japhetic Y chromosome that mixed with the Jewish population early on and is found in large numbers in the Americas. But see, we have these slivers of the Jewish population and this Semitic, see, because this G is Semitic line. So anything after T, even the F would be Semitic. The F, G, H, I, J, this is all Semitic. The K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R's are, and S and T are Japhetic, apparently. But there you have it. Evidence of Jewish people in the Americas, in the American Indian population. Right there in color, in living color. So what else can we see? Of course, the C's and the D's are in Asia. We got H's. H's are basically Semitic populations that are not Jewish. This H population be Semitic, not Jewish. G is Semitic, not Jewish. I think it's the H would be the Gypsies or I guess, be politically correct. It's Romans or something. I don't know, Romans. Anyways, but the G's are, I think, are the Dravidians in India too. But they're found in America because they probably joined up with this Jewish population here and ended up in America. So there you have the Q's in America, the R's in America. Then you have a huge representation of T, the TY chromosome in America, along with J2, J1, I1, I2. And of course, this is my Y chromosome, which is also found in this gray area. This gray color area would be Europe. So the IY chromosome is generally found in this area here, and the I2 is throughout this area here and lower here, but it's all associated with the J2 and the J1, which is they're all descendants of Abraham, and probably the IY chromosome is a descendant of Abraham too, because it belongs to the same tree early on. So the IY chromosome is probably descendants of Abraham. And that's the thing. When they do genetic distance charts, they don't really show uh, all of the information. So here we have a genetic distance chart or a diversity product. It's supposed to represent genetic distance. Of course, you have the A1. They stretch it out. They make it so that it's real long. And apparently, there's more reproduction and more genetic distance means more mutations. So there's more mutations in this A line and the B line than in these others. But we have a problem here because we have the E1s, because they did this whole thing backwards. Instead of going to the biblical source of the origin of all these people here, they went to the extremities in the tips of Africa, the farthest reaches in Africa, and started there and named it A, B, and then they found the C, D, or the E's. So we have a problem here because the E1, this E1, this E1, and this E2, they're not even the major populations or the original populations. They're not the original E populations. The original E populations are designated E3s. This E2, I believe, could be Canaanite. But the E3s are all, well, this might be Phoenician too. I think the E2 might be Phoenician. The Egyptians, the Mitzrayim, are E3s, and the Cushites are E3s, but they're not even here. They're not even on this family tree. If they were on this branch of the family tree, they would connect up to this tree right here, the E's, which would be separate from this. But the A and the B's are actually offshoots of the E3, which is not even here. So the Cushites and Mitzrayim are E3s, and I think the Phoenicians are E2s or something like that. But anyways, there's a lot of information that's not even here yet. So that's what the problem is. And over here again, you have the Semitic populations. Remember the GH, IJ, and then you have the K, LMN, OPQ, RS, OPQ, RS, and T. There's the S right there. If you never saw the S before, it's a single island out in the, I guess the Micronesia or whatever that is, somewhere. It's an island over here, and let me see, go to the map. It's like one section over here somewhere of people. It's an S, somewhere over here above Australia. But anyways, yeah. So you have the Semitic population. Notice this one. Each tree is its own tree, and I don't know if you can notice, but there is a distance between this tree here and this tree here. There's a distance. Of course, these are all brothers, anyways. It would be Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So they all belong to the same tree anyway. But their descendants develop unique markers, identifying markers with different numbers of copies of the same information that everyone shares. So, so this branch of the tree over here developed a certain numbers of markers on their Y chromosome, which there's as many as 111 markers, more or less. You can do a test with more markers or less markers, but the best test for your money probably would be the 111 or the 64 marker test. So the 111, so it's 111 copies of the same information. So it's different numbers of copies of the different numbers of the 111 copies that we all share that are different numbers. So it develops a fingerprint for each generation. They'll have mutations in uh, different numbers of copies of the same information. In other words, instead of 24 copies, it'll be 23. Instead of 13, it'll be 14, and on and on. And instead of 25, it'll be 24 copies of the same information. So it develops a unique fingerprint and identifying marker so that you can know which branch of the tree that you are on, or the which branch of which tree that you are on. So, for example, say I took a test out here somewhere. This is me. I got an IY chromosome. It identifies me which branch of this tree I belong to, and identifies me as belonging to the same tree as the descendants, the male descendants of Abraham. In other words, the paternal line of Abraham. So it identifies me as having come from the same family tree as Abraham, either before or after, probably after. And of course, all this other Semitic population, notice how distinct it is from Abraham's family tree. This is Semitic populations, but it's not from Abraham's family tree because it goes way back before Abraham. Another, Abraham was 10 generations from Noah anyway. So in 10 generations, he's not going to have that many genetic not that many mutations between Abraham and Noah. He's 10 generations of Noah. And he's obviously a descendant of Shem. These are all descendants of Shem, the son of Noah. These are all descendants of Japheth, the son of Noah, and Ham, the son of Noah. So if they would have studied actual human history, they would have known that Ham had 4 sons. He had Put, which are the Phoenicians over here, Mitzrayim, which is the Egyptians over here, and Cush, which is the Egyptian of the sub-Saharan dark Africans over here, the Cushites. Okay, and the Canaanites over here, this area. So this is actual human history, and of course we know that Cush had a son called Nimrod, who was a hunter, who was was a great hunter and was a king in the land of Shinar, because Nimrod is the son of Cush early on. Cush went into this part of Africa. Mitzrayim went in this part of Africa. The son of Cush, named Nimrod, had his kingdom in Mesopotamia over here and never, or it's over here, never even went to Africa. His descendants, all of his descendants went east. None of the CY chromosome ever went back to Africa, ever, until maybe recently. But, and of course, the CY chromosome is all throughout the islands, all the way to Puerto Rico, all the way, of course, Philippines, everywhere. So anybody that is a descendant of any of the sailors that sailed through these regions, like the Philippines and everything, and came over here to these islands over here, they could have a CY chromosome, which is very high probability. So, and the DY chromosome, of course, is from the Andamanese Islands right here, Tibet over here, and Japan over here. Japan actually has 1/3 of the population are direct descendants of Kush, the dark sub-Saharan African, or the dark colored African. So as far as the male line, the male descendants. So, and the seas went up through Mongolia in this area, northern China, and Russia, as we can see down here. The sea, we got North Asia, we got East Asia, South Asia, Oceania, even Oceania we got. So it'd be the CY chromosome all throughout that area. Because, of course, Nimrod had his kingdom very early on from the beginning, even before the Tower of Babel. I mean, the division of the languages at the Tower of Babel. So he already had his kingdom established here, so that when they spread out, he never went into Africa like his father Cush did, and many of his brothers apparently, except for one brother or one of his sons, is the DY chromosome, which is the Andamanese. So this is what I'm showing here. We have the CY chromosome, and then you have the D. I don't know why I have that D. I say the DE. They're trying to connect the D to the E, which actually is connected. The D is connected to the E3, as a matter of fact. But yeah, you have the C here breaks off first, and then you have the D that breaks off. So C could have been a descendant of Nimrod, as a matter of fact. And some of those descendants actually went back into Africa at a way later date. You can see the little bump here, as opposed to way back here in history. So like all this genetic distance here that's found throughout Asia is there, okay. So this is North Asia. Of course, this is a large population here, but it's North Asia, and the rest is like the Pacific Islands and South Asia, and Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Oceania would be the CY chromosome. But that's an interesting study. It seems to me like it's pretty good. See what we got here. We got Jay Martin, Jim Brock, and Sea to Shining Sea. Is there any THCs? We got the T. Yeah, the H is the Semitic, the T is Japhetic, and the C is Hamitic. So you got the three sons of Noah represented in the THC. The CBDs, the C. The C is Nimrod. The B is a descendant of Cush. And the D is a descendant of Nimrod C, probably. There you go. Looking good, anyway. All right. I guess that's about it. I got a few things to do now, so I guess I'll just cut this off now. But everybody take care and don't ever believe in the out of Africa theory because this DNA evidence disproves without a doubt the out of Africa theory because the CY chromosome never went to Africa, never, ever. The D went at a much later date. See, the D is like an offshoot from the C, but it appears here. The D appears here at a very, very much later date in Africa. So there is a population of D in Africa. It's a small number, say 3. It's got a 3 there. It's a percentage number or something. But it's only found at a later date. I mean, it only went there at a later date. Because, of course, there's D. The D's are found in the Andamanese. See these D's here? They were way back in time already in the Andamanese Islands over here, and in Tibet and Japan. So that disproves the out of Africa theory because it shows here that the D went way back into Africa at a very much later date, and DNA doesn't lie. And of course, with a notary or the notary thing of the Jewish population, which is the I's and the J's and the T's. Somehow T got mixed up with the Jewish population early on. They're found in America. This brown color there, that's America. So we have evidence of that, DNA evidence of that. So more evidence we get, the more DNA evidence we get, the more we can prove and disprove this out of Africa theory. Or we can prove that we all came from this Mesopotamian area where the CY chromosome spread out from. So that settles that. And there's no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. So with that, I'll sign off and never trust evolutionary claims, ever.